Have you ever noticed that you get way more perfectionistic when you're tired? It's a super common feeling. In this explainer, we're going to dive into why low mental energy doesn't just make you feel sluggish, it can actually crank your perfectionism up to 11.
So, let's start with a scenario. I have a feeling this is going to sound very, very familiar to a lot of you.
Okay, picture this. It's the end of a long day. You're drained, and you have just one last thing on your to-do list. Write a quick, simple email. Should take, 2 minutes tops? But then you start typing, and suddenly every single sentence feels wrong. You start obsessing over the tone, you worry about tiny little details, and you find yourself rewriting that first line over and over and over again. And before you know it, this tiny little task feels absolutely monumental. You're probably thinking, why am I being such a perfectionist about this? But what if that's the wrong question? What if the real issue isn't your personality, but your energy level? And that brings us to the core idea here. We need to completely reframe how we think about perfectionism. What if it's not some permanent character flaw, but just a problem of having low fuel in the tank? This is a really crucial shift in perspective. We tend to label ourselves, right? Oh, I'm just a perfectionist. We see it as this fixed part of who we are. But the reality is often way simpler. It's a resource problem. Your tendency to get stuck on perfect isn't constant. It changes. And a key reason it changes is your mental energy. To really get how this works, let's use a simple metaphor that we can all relate to. Just think of your mind's ability to be flexible like your phone's battery. When your mental battery is fully charged, your mind is flexible, it's creative, you can handle complexity, you can accept good enough and just move on. But when that battery is low, down in the red, your mind gets rigid. It loses that flexibility and starts craving the certainty of one single perfect answer. And that rigidity, that's what creates this really dangerous trap, a downward spiral that just drains you even more. So here's how the loop works. It all starts with low mental energy. That causes your mind to become inflexible. Because it's inflexible, it clings to these impossibly perfect standards to try and feel some sense of control and certainty. But of course, trying to meet those standards drains even more of your precious energy, which starts the whole cycle all over again. And here's the crucial part. When you're caught in this loop, you're not actually doing productive work anymore. You've crossed over into what we call anxiety-driven work. It's no longer about making the email or the report better. It's just about trying to quiet the anxiety inside your head and feel safe from being judged or failing. So the big question is, how do we break this cycle? Well, it starts with a really simple but incredibly powerful strategy. You have to intentionally lower the standard.
This right here is the key. Remember this. Instead of beating yourself up, thinking you're lazy or not good enough, you have to recognize the real problem is your energy level. The solution isn't to just push harder, it's to strategically adjust your expectations for that day.
Let's apply this. Go back to that email from before. The goal of a perfect email is totally vague, and it feels infinite. It's gonna drain you. But a clear email, now that is functional, it's achievable, and it gets the job done. Here's another one. A word like excellent can be completely paralyzing. But a 70% version, that's just a first draft. It gives you permission to be imperfect and actually make some progress. You can always come back and improve it later when your energy is higher. And for those huge, overwhelming projects, don't even try to solve everything at once when you're tired. Just focus on identifying the very next small, concrete step you can take. This keeps you moving forward without completely depleting your reserves. And to be crystal clear, this is not about giving up. It's not about being lazy or lowering the overall quality of your work. This is smart, strategic energy management. It's all about matching your expectations to the resources you actually have available on any given day. The absolute best way to make this practical is with a brand new habit, a super simple pre-task check-in. Before you even start a task, just pause and ask yourself these 3 simple questions. First, how much energy do I actually have right now? Be honest. Second, what's the minimum acceptable version of this task? And third, what standard is going to help me move forward, not get frozen in place? Because when you get right down to it, this is the main takeaway. When you're stuck, the problem is almost never your actual ability. The problem is a mismatch. You're trying to apply a high-energy, perfectionist standard on a day when you're running on low-energy resources. That's just a recipe for frustration. So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you feel that perfectionism creeping in,
That paralysis setting in, are you going to default to that old self-criticism and ask, what's wrong with me? Or will you try this new approach and start by simply asking, how much energy do I actually have right now? That one simple question can make all the difference.